Here's a fun fact about commanding a starship. Just when you think you've mastered every possible crisis scenario, the universe decides to introduce you to humans. Commander Kylo Nightclaw, 43 cycles of service, and apparently still naive enough to believe that rescue missions were supposed to be routine. Spoiler alert. Nothing involving humans is ever routine. The whole mess started when we picked up that distress signal from the mining colony on Frostbite Station. Standard procedure. Really? Rescue mission? Humanitarian aid? Easy assignment that would look good on our quarterly reports. What Command didn't mention in their briefing was that Frostbite Station was populated entirely by humans, and humans had this annoying habit of surviving things that should have killed them 3 times over. Commander, my communications officer, Ayala Silvertooth, called from her station. We're receiving confirmation from Frostbite Station. They're reporting a complete heating system failure across the entire colony. Estimated survival time for their population island. Well, sir, they should have been dead 2 days ago. Should have been dead 2 days ago. Right. Because nothing about this mission was going to be straightforward. What's the surface temperature on that rock? I asked, already dreading the answer. Lieutenant Pike Sharpsight checked his environmental readings. -47 degrees Celsius, sir. And dropping. The solar collectors froze solid. Backup generators failed. And they're experiencing what they call a polar vortex. Whatever that means. -47 degrees. I'd seen entire Thorian battle fleets retreat from temperatures warmer than that. Yet somehow, these humans were still transmitting coherent distress signals after 48 hours of exposure. Sir. Science Officer Dana Brightmind interjected, her tentacles fluttering with excitement. According to human physiology databases, their species should experience hypothermia within hours at those temperatures. Cellular breakdown, organ failure, death. It's basic biology. Well, apparently nobody told the humans about basic biology, I muttered. Helm. Set course for Frostbite Station. Maximum warp. 3 hours later, we dropped out of warp to find a mining colony that looked like it had been flash-frozen by the universe's cruelest practical joke. Ice covered every surface, the station's lights flickered weakly, and atmospheric readings confirmed that the habitat modules were barely maintaining life support. Transport Chief Rex Strongarm reporting, sir, came the voice over the comm. The humans are requesting immediate evacuation to our ship. They say they can't hold out much longer. They can't hold out much longer. After 2 days at temperatures that should have turned them into popsicles, they were worried about holding out longer. Begin emergency transport, I ordered. Medical bay. Prepare for hypothermia victims. Things visit. All of them. Dr. Clara Swiftpaw, our chief medical officer, acknowledged from sickbay. Understood, Commander. Warming chambers are ready. Revival protocols initialized. How many casualties are we expecting? All of them, I repeated. 47 humans, probably in various stages of freezing to death. What we got instead was 47 humans who were cold, irritated, and complaining about the inconvenience. This is ridiculous, announced Amaya, the colony's administrator, as she materialized on our transport pad. She was a small human female with dark hair and the kind of expression that suggested the universe had personally offended her. 2 days without heat in the middle of winter, and we're supposed to just sit there and freeze like civilized people? Sit there and freeze like civilized people. Most civilized people would have been dead within 6 hours. Ma'am, I said, attempting diplomacy. Our medical staff is prepared to treat your hypothermia symptoms immediately. Sarah looked at me like I'd suggested. She needed treatment for having too many limbs. Hypothermia? Who has hypothermia? We're cold, not dying. There's a difference. Doctor. Swiftpaw appeared beside me, medical scanner in hand. Sir, I'm reading normal vital signs across all 47 humans. No signs of cellular damage, organ stress, or metabolic slowdown. They're fine. They're fine. 47 humans who'd spent 2 days in temperatures that would kill most species in hours, and they were fine. How? How? I asked Sarah directly. How are you not dead? Blankets? she replied matter-of-factly. Coats, hot drinks, basic survival strategies that apparently escaped the notice of whoever designed this death trap of a station. Blankets. They had survived lethal cold using blankets. Sarah, I said slowly, our environmental readings indicate that the interior temperature of your habitat modules dropped to -32 degrees. No known species can survive those conditions with simple thermal coverings. Well, maybe you need better blankets, she suggested with the casual confidence of someone who had just redefined the laws of physics. That evening, as we worked to repair the colony's heating systems, I found myself in the observation lounge watching the humans interact with my crew. They had settled into our guest quarters with the kind of adaptability that suggested interstellar emergencies were just minor inconveniences in their daily routine. Commander, Science Officer Brightmind approached with her usual enthusiasm for impossible data. I've been analyzing the humans' thermal regulation capabilities. The results are fascinating. Define fascinating, I said, though I suspected I wasn't going to like the answer. They appear to generate significantly more internal heat than our biological models predicted. Their metabolic processes actually increase efficiency under cold stress, rather than shutting down like normal organisms. Normal organisms. There was nothing normal about humans. Furthermore, she continued, their behavioral adaptations are remarkable. They've developed complex social warming strategies, shared resource protocols, and even recreational activities that generate additional body heat. Recreational activities? Recreational activities. They call it singing. Apparently, coordinated vocal exercises help maintain group morale and circulatory function during survival situations. Singing. They survived lethal cold by singing. Dr. Brightmind? Dr. Brightmind? I said carefully. Are you telling me that humans treat life-threatening environmental hazards as opportunities for group entertainment? That appears to be an accurate assessment, sir. The next morning brought a new complication. Our engineering teams had worked through the night to restore the colony's heating systems, but a pack of native frostbite predators had been drawn to the increased activity. These weren't your typical scavengers. Frostbite Stalkers were apex predators, perfectly adapted to the planet's brutal conditions. 8 feet tall, razor-sharp claws, thick ice armor plating, and a pack-hunting intelligence that made them the undisputed masters of their frozen world. Commander, Lieutenant Sharpsight reported from the bridge, we're detecting movement around the colony perimeter. 12. No. 15 Frostbite Stalkers approaching from multiple directions. 15 Stalkers. Even our security teams would have trouble with that many. Alert the humans, I ordered. Tell them to seal themselves in the most secure area they can find and wait for our security forces. 5 minutes later, Sarah's voice crackled over the comm with obvious amusement. Commander, we appreciate the concern, but we're not hiding from a few oversized ice lizards. We've got this handled. They've got this handled. 15 apex predators, and they thought they had it handled. Sarah, I said through gritted teeth, these are Frostbite Stalkers. They're the apex predators of this planet. They hunt in coordinated packs. They're virtually immune to energy weapons, and they view everything that moves as potential food. Right, she replied. Sounds like Tuesday. Sounds like Tuesday. I was beginning to understand why humans had such a reputation for being either heroes or lunatics. Commander. Transport Chief Strongarm's voice interrupted my contemplation of human psychology. You need to see this. I'm patching visual from the colony's external cameras to the main screen. What I saw defied every principle of predator behavior I'd studied in 4 decades of xenobiology. The stalkers had surrounded the colony's main habitat module, just as predicted. Their pack formation was textbook perfect, de-escape routes blocked, weakest points identified, coordinated approach vectors established. These creatures were executing a flawless hunting strategy that had served them for millions of years. And then they stopped, dead in their tracks, as if they'd hit an invisible wall. What are they doing? Dr. Swiftpaw asked, staring at the screen in confusion. The stalkers were pacing restlessly around the habitat module, but maintaining a precise distance of exactly 12 meters from the structure. They would approach, pause, and then back away as if something was actively repelling them. There's no energy barrier, Lieutenant Sharpsight confirmed. No force fields. No defensive systems. No electromagnetic interference. They're just stopping. That was when I noticed the humans. Sarah and 3 other colony members were standing outside the habitat module. Outside, in -40-degree weather, surrounded by 15 apex predators, SCA, and they appeared to be having a casual conversation. Sarah was wrapped in what looked like a standard thermal blanket, and the other humans wore simple cold-weather gear. The stalkers wouldn't approach within 12 meters of them. "Get me an audio feed," I ordered. "Probably should have mentioned this earlier," Sarah was saying to her companions. But I brought my grandmother's quilt, the one she made during the Great Blizzard of 2387. Her grandmother's quilt. Apex predators were being held at bay by a quilt. "Sarah," came my voice over the colony's external comm. "What exactly is happening down there?" "Oh, hi, Commander," she replied cheerfully. "Just dealing with the local wildlife. They seem a bit nervous about something." Nervous. 15 killing machines were nervous. "The stalkers," I said slowly. "Why aren't they attacking?" "Well," Sarah considered, "I think it might be the blanket. Grandmother always said it had special properties, but I figured she was just being sentimental." Special properties. A quilt had special properties. "Commander." Science Officer Brightmind's voice was tight with excitement. "I'm detecting unusual energy patterns emanating from the human's thermal covering. The fabric appears to be generating some kind of field that's disrupting the stalker's hunting instincts." "How is that possible?" "I'm not certain, sir. The material composition includes standard synthetic fibers, but there are also organic components I can't identify. The weaving pattern seems to create a resonance effect that interferes with predator neural pathways." Predator neural pathways. A grandmother's quilt was disrupting predator neural pathways. "Sarah," I called down to the colony, "can you explain how your blanket is repelling 15 apex predators?" "Honestly, I have no idea. But grandmother always said it would keep me safe from anything that meant me harm." I thought she meant it would keep me warm. Keep her safe from anything that meant her harm. Apparently, grandmother's definition of safe included protection from planetary apex predators. "The stalkers are withdrawing," Lieutenant Sharpsight reported. "They're maintaining formation, but retreating from the colony perimeter." On the screen, we watched as the pack of Frostbite Stalkers, creatures that had never shown fear of anything in their mathic evolutionary history, VSA, backed away from a human holding a quilt. They maintained their retreat until they were completely out of visual range, leaving the humans standing alone in the freezing wilderness. "Well," Sarah announced, folding the blanket casually, "that's that problem solved. Can we get back to fixing the heaters now?" That problem solved. She had just resolved a predator threat that would have challenged an entire security battalion, and she wanted to get back to routine maintenance. "Doctor." Swiftpaw shook her head in amazement. "Commander, I'm going to need to completely revise my understanding of human survival capabilities." "Join the club," I muttered. "At this rate, we'll need to rewrite the entire xenobiology database." As our engineering teams resumed work on the heating systems, I found myself contemplating the broader implications of what I'd witnessed. Humans didn't just survive impossible conditions, they thrived in them. They didn't just avoid predators. They confused them into retreat. And they accomplished all of this with technology so simple, it qualified as primitive by galactic standards. Blankets. The secret to humanity's survival against impossible odds was blankets. "Commander," Communications Officer Silvertooth called from her station. "We're receiving a priority message from Command. They're requesting a full report on the rescue mission." I looked at the humans busily repairing their colony, at the readings showing no signs of the stalker pack, at the data files documenting impossible survival in lethal conditions. "Tell Command," I said slowly, "that the humans are fine, all of them, and that we may need to reconsider our threat assessment protocols for human colonies." "Sir?" Also tell them that human textile technology may represent a significant advancement in personal protection systems, and that we should probably start taking their survival strategies more seriously. Their survival strategies. Who would have thought that? The galaxy's most effective survival technology came in the form of a grandmother's quilt? As the day wore on, our repair teams successfully restored the colony's heating systems. The habitat modules warmed to comfortable temperatures, the solar collectors resumed operation, and life returned to normal for the 47 humans who had casually survived what should have been certain death. Commander, Sarah approached me in the main corridor as we prepared to depart. I wanted to thank you for the rescue mission. Even though we probably could have managed without it. 47 people stranded in lethal cold with no heat, and they probably could have managed. Sarah, I said, I have to ask. The blanket that repelled the stalkers, is that normal for human textiles? She laughed. Oh no. Grandmother's quilt is special. Family heirloom, hand-woven with techniques that go back generations. Most of our blankets just keep you warm. As if staying warm in conditions that would freeze most species solid was a minor accomplishment. But, she continued thoughtfully, humans have always been good at making things that serve multiple purposes. You never know when a simple tool might save your life. Simple tools. Humans had survived impossible odds using simple tools and inherited textiles. Sarah, I said as she prepared to beam back to the colony. One final question. If you'd known about the stalkers when you first settled here, would you have chosen a different location? She considered this seriously. Probably not. Every planet has its challenges. You adapt, you find solutions, you make do with what you have. That's just how humans handle things. Understatement of the galactic cycle. As the Shadowfang departed Frostbite Station, I reflected on the mission report I would need to file. How do you explain to command that humans routinely survived impossible conditions, using technology that predated interstellar travel? How do you document that apex predators fled from a piece of fabric that belonged to someone's grandmother? Sir, Science Officer Brightmind approached with her final analysis. I've completed my study of the human survival techniques. The results are going to revolutionize our understanding of adaptive biology. How so? Humans don't just survive hostile environments, they turn them into advantages. The cold that should have killed them actually improved their group cohesion and resource management. The predator threat enhanced their problem-solving capabilities. They treat obstacles as opportunities for innovation. That sounded exactly like something humans would do. Furthermore, she continued, their technology isn't primitive, it's optimized. Every tool serves multiple functions. Every solution addresses multiple problems. They've achieved maximum efficiency through apparent simplicity. And the blanket? The blanket is a masterpiece of multifunctional design. Thermal regulation, psychological comfort, social bonding symbol, and apparently, predator deterrent. 4 critical survival functions in a single piece of fabric. Leave it to humans to accidentally engineer the perfect survival tool while trying to stay warm. Dr. Brightmind, I said as we settled into our return voyage. Make sure that analysis gets forwarded to the Galactic Survival Institute. I have a feeling they're going to want to study human techniques very carefully. Already done, sir. I suspect we're going to see some significant changes in standard survival protocols. As I settled into my command chair for the return trip, I realized that this mission had taught me something important about humans. They didn't survive impossible situations through superior technology or overwhelming force. They survived by refusing to accept that situations were impossible in the first place. And sometimes, that refusal was enough to make even apex predators reconsider their hunting plans. 2 weeks after filing what had to be the strangest mission report in Galactic Fleet history, I received a priority transmission that made my previous headaches look like minor inconveniences. Commander Nightclaw. Admiral Rex Ironwing's voice crackled through the bridge speakers. You're being reassigned to the Frontier Protection Initiative. Effective immediately. Frontier Protection Initiative. That was military speak for, Congratulations, you now get to babysit the galaxy's most dangerous border colonies. Sir, I replied carefully. May I ask what prompted this reassignment? Your report on human survival capabilities has caught the attention of some very important people, Commander. It seems your humans have been making quite an impression across multiple sectors. Making quite an impression. That sounded ominous. Furthermore, Admiral Ironwing continued, we've received 17 requests from various species asking for human consultation on hostile environment survival. The Zenith Collective wants them to advise on ice-world colonization. The Thermal Guild is requesting human expertise for volcanic mining operations. Even the Void Wanderers are asking about human cold-weather gear. Even the Void Wanderers, a species that lived in the vacuum of space, was asking humans for advice about staying warm. Your new assignment, Commander, is to establish a joint human-alien survival research station on Darkfall Prime. Consider it a field laboratory for studying human adaptive techniques. Darkfall Prime. I'd heard of it. A nightmare planet on the edge of known space where 3 different hostile environments converged. Frozen tundra in the north, scorching desert in the south, and a temperate zone in between that was crawling with every conceivable form of deadly wildlife. Of course, they were sending humans there. Sir, Darkfall Prime is classified as uninhabitable. Survival expectancy for most species is measured in hours. Which is exactly why we need humans there, Commander. If anyone can figure out how to make that rock livable, it's them. 3 days later, the Shadowfang dropped out of warp at Darkfall Prime, and I got my first look at our new assignment. The planet looked like someone had taken 3 different worlds and smashed them together without bothering to check if they were compatible. Commander, Lieutenant Sharpsight reported from his station. Initial scans confirmed the briefing data. Northern Hemisphere. Average temperature minus 60 degrees Celsius. Southern Hemisphere. Average temperature plus 80 degrees. The temperate zone experiences both extremes depending on seasonal wind patterns. Seasonal wind patterns. Because random temperature swings of 140 degrees weren't challenging enough without making them unpredictable. Sir, Science Officer Brightmind added with her usual enthusiasm for impossible data, the planet also experiences gravitational anomalies, atmospheric pressure variations, and electromagnetic storms that occur every 47 hours. Every 47 hours. Right on schedule, because apparently this planet believed in punctual disasters. And the wildlife? Abundant, diverse, and universally hostile to off-world species. Universally hostile. Perfect. Our human consultant team materialized on the transport pad 20 minutes later, led by Dr. Emma Evie, Sarah's sister, and apparently the family expert on impossible survival situations. She was a tall, dark-haired woman with the same unsettling confidence that seemed to run in their family. Commander Nightclaw, she said, extending her hand in that bizarre human greeting ritual. Thank you for the opportunity to work with your team. We're excited about the challenges this planet presents. Excited about the challenges. Most species would be terrified. Humans. We're excited. Dr. Evie, I replied. I should warn you that Darkfall Prime is considered one of the most hostile environments in known space. Our survival projections for your team are optimistic. She laughed. Commander, we've read the reports. This place sounds like Minnesota in January, crossed with Arizona in August. With a wildlife problem. We've dealt with worse. They've dealt with worse. I was beginning to suspect that human standards for worse were significantly different from everyone else's. Dr. Evie's team consisted of 6 specialists. Arctic survival expert Deckard Frostborn, desert operations specialist Maria Sandwalker, wildlife management consultant Tom Beastfriend, atmospheric technician Lisa Airmaster, geological surveyor Rick Stonefinder, and textile engineer Anna Threadweaver. Textile engineer. They had brought a fabric specialist to study a hostile planet. Commander, Dr. Evie explained. As her team unpacked their equipment, our approach to extreme environment survival is based on 3 principles: adaptation, integration, and innovation. We don't fight the environment, anyone. We learned to work with it. Work with it. They wanted to collaborate with a planet that actively tried to kill everything that landed on it. Our first field expedition was scheduled for the northern tundra region, where temperatures regularly dropped low enough to freeze most atmospheric gases solid. Standard protocol called for full environmental suits, heated shelters, and emergency evacuation procedures every 6 hours. The humans packed blankets. Dr. Evie, I said as I watched her team prepare for departure. The surface temperature in that region will kill exposed skin in under 3 minutes. Are you certain your equipment is adequate? Oh, we're not planning to stay exposed, she replied cheerfully. Anna's brought some prototype cold weather gear based on traditional techniques. We should be fine for several days. Several days. In conditions that would deterrent, flash freeze most species in minutes. Anna Threadweaver stepped forward, carrying what looked like a collection of fabric samples. Commander, I've been studying the data from Sarah's grandmother's quilt. The weaving patterns and material combinations create remarkably effective thermal regulation, and even some protective properties against hostile fauna. Protective properties against hostile fauna. They were planning to use blankets as armor. These new designs, Anna continued, incorporate similar principles but adapt them for multiple environment types. Thermal regulation for extreme cold, moisture wicking for desert conditions, and electromagnetic shielding for energy-based hazards. Electromagnetic shielding. She had woven electromagnetic shielding into fabric. Anna, I said slowly, are you telling me that you've created textiles that function as environmental protection suits? Well, they're really more like adaptive clothing systems. They respond to environmental conditions and user needs automatically. Automatically. Self-regulating survival gear that looked like a picnic blanket. Dr. Swiftpaw approached with her medical scanner. Dr. Evie, I'll need to monitor your team's vital signs continuously during the expedition. The physiological stress of this environment will be manageable, Doctor. Evie finished confidently. Humans have excellent temperature regulation capabilities when properly supported. The key is gradual adaptation and smart resource management. Smart resource management. They were treating a survival nightmare as a logistics problem. 6 hours later, we received the first field report from the human expedition team. Commander, this is Dr. Evie reporting from the northern sector. We've established a temporary base camp approximately 15 kilometers from the landing zone. Conditions are invigorating. Invigorating. They found lethal cold invigorating. Team status report, Dr. Evie. All team members are healthy and comfortable. Deckard's identified several natural windbreaks that provide excellent shelter opportunities. Anna's thermal regulation gear is performing beyond expectations. We're actually warmer out here than we were on the ship. Warmer than on the ship. In -60-degree weather, they were warmer than in our climate-controlled environment. Sir, Science Officer Brightmind whispered, checking her readings. The human biosignatures are showing elevated comfort levels. Their stress indicators are actually lower than baseline measurements. Lower than baseline. They were more relaxed in lethal cold than they had been in safety. Dr. Evie, I called back. What about wildlife encounters? Oh, we've seen several native species. Fascinating adaptations. Tom's been documenting their behavioral patterns. They seem curious about us but not aggressive. Curious but not aggressive. The wildlife was curious about humans. Commander, Tom Beastfriend's voice joined the transmission. The local predators are exhibiting avoidance behaviors similar to what you described with the Frostbite Stalkers. They approach to investigate, then maintain respectful distances. Respectful distances. Apex predators were showing respect to humans wrapped in blankets. Tom, are you saying the wildlife is afraid of your team? Not afraid, exactly. More like cautious? It's as if they recognize that we're not typical prey. Anna's fabrics seem to create some kind of neutral scent profile that doesn't trigger hunting instincts. Neutral scent profile. Advanced alien textiles that confused predator neural pathways. The next morning brought reports from the desert expedition team. Commander, this is Maria Sandwalker reporting from the southern sector. Day 1, Observations. This desert is hot, dry, and absolutely beautiful. We've located 3 water sources and identified multiple edible plant species. Multiple edible plant species. They were finding food in a desert that killed everything. Maria, our Sarand. Botanical databases indicate that darkfall prime vegetation is universally toxic to off-world species. Well, our databases might need updating. Lisa's atmospheric analysis shows that the toxicity is primarily due to concentrated mineral content. Proper preparation techniques neutralize most harmful compounds. Proper preparation techniques. They were planning to cook their way around planetary toxicity. Furthermore, Maria continued, Rick's geological survey has identified several underground cave systems that maintain stable temperatures year-round. With minor modifications, they could serve as excellent permanent shelters. Minor modifications. They wanted to renovate caves into housing. And the heat tolerance? Anna's moisture-wicking fabrics are incredible. We're actually more comfortable here than most humans would be on a standard summer day. The adaptive properties regulate both temperature and humidity automatically. More comfortable than a summer day. In 80-degree heat with no shade, they were comfortable. Thank you. Sir, Dr. Swiftpaw reported quietly. The desert team's physiological readings indicate optimal hydration, normal body temperature, and elevated mood indicators. They're thriving down there. Thriving. In conditions that would dehydrate most species within hours. The temperate zone team made the biggest discovery. The electromagnetic storms aren't random. They're predictable and manageable. We can harness storm energy for power generation and support a significant settlement. Support a settlement. They weren't just surviving, they were colonizing. Admiral Ironwing's response was immediate. Are you seriously proposing we reclassify Darkfall Prime as habitable? More than habitable, Dr. Evie replied. This planet could train other species in survival techniques using human methods. Train other species. Humans wanted to teach survival to the galaxy. The textile technologies alone, Anna Threadweaver added, could revolutionize personal protection equipment across all environments. We're talking about adaptive, responsive materials that provide multiple protective functions simultaneously. Multiple protective functions simultaneously. Universal survival gear that looked like clothing. Admiral Ironwing was quiet for a long moment. Dr. Evie, are you telling me that humans can make any hostile environment livable using fabric technology and positive thinking? Well, Dr. Evie replied thoughtfully. It's a bit more complicated than that. You also need proper resource management, adaptive behavior strategies, and really good hot chocolate. Really good hot chocolate. The secret to conquering hostile planets was hot chocolate. Commander Nightclaw, Admiral Ironwing said finally, I'm authorizing the establishment of the Darkfall Prime Survival Research Institute. Dr. Evie will serve as director, with your ship providing orbital support. Survival Research Institute. We were officially in the business of teaching the galaxy how to be more like humans. 3 months later, Darkfall Prime hosted its first interspecies survival workshop. 47 worlds sent representatives to learn human techniques. The most popular course is Anna's textile engineering program. Dr. Evie explained. Anna. Students learn adaptive protection using traditional weaving with modern materials. Traditional weaving techniques. The galaxy's most advanced survival technology was based on quilting methods. As I watched species from across the galaxy learning human survival methods, I realized humans hadn't just survived impossible conditions, they had redefined what impossible meant. Dr. Evie, I said as we concluded our facility tour, I have to ask, when you first heard about this assignment, did you know it would lead to teaching the entire galaxy how to survive? She smiled. Commander, humans have always shared survival techniques. It's what we do. When someone needs help staying warm, you give them a blanket. When you can't find food, you teach them to cook. When someone's afraid of the dark, you show them how to make light. When someone's afraid of the dark, you show them how to make light. The human approach to problem solving in a single sentence. Besides, she added with that characteristic human confidence. Survival isn't about having the best technology or the strongest weapons. It's about adapting, learning, and helping each other through difficult times. Helping each other through difficult times. Humans had turned survival into a community service project. 6 months after what should have been a routine rescue mission, the Shadowfang had become the flagship of the galaxy's most successful survival education program. Darkfall Prime, once classified as a death world, was now a thriving research center, where beings from across the galaxy learned that impossible was just another word for hasn't been tried yet. And it all started with a grandmother's quilt and a group of humans who refused to accept that cold weather was a good reason to give up. Commander, Science Officer Brightmind approached with her final research summary. I've completed the comprehensive analysis of human survival methodologies. The conclusions are going to reshape our understanding of environmental adaptation across all known species. How so? Humans don't survive hostile environments by overpowering them. They survive by becoming part of them. Their technology doesn't fight natural forces, they works with them. Their social structures don't isolate individuals. ASC. They create community support systems. Community support systems. The secret to human survival was taking care of each other. And the textiles? The textiles are just the visible manifestation of a much deeper principle. Humans create tools that serve multiple purposes, adapt to changing conditions, and can be shared with others. Every piece of human survival technology is designed to help not just the individual, but their entire community. Their entire community. Human survival gear was inherently social. Dr. Brightmind? I said as I watched the latest group of interspecies survival students graduate from the program. What's the most important thing you've learned from studying human techniques? That survival isn't about individual strength or superior technology. It's about refusing to give up, adapting to circumstances, and making sure everyone gets through the crisis together. Making sure everyone gets through the crisis together. The human definition of success. As the Shadowfang prepared to depart for our next assignment, establishing survival training centers on 3 more impossible worlds, I reflected on how completely humans had changed my understanding of what it meant to survive. They hadn't conquered hostile environments through force or technology. They had made friends with them using blankets, hot chocolate, and an unshakable belief that every problem had a solution if you were willing to share it with others. And somehow, that approach had proven more effective than anything the galaxy's most advanced civilizations had ever developed. Turns out, the most powerful survival tool in the universe isn't a weapon or a shield. It's a warm blanket, and the willingness to share it with someone who's cold.